All right, welcome back to the channel. This is Matthew Pizgatti. Thanks for watching. We're talking about the DRIP BUSD garden again, and today I'm running a little bit of an experiment, and I think I'll do this throughout the weekend. One, so I don't have to compound as often and monitor it all weekend, but I also want to see what, if any, effect we have on the rewards I'm receiving. I know we're all seeing a larger decay than we would like right now, mainly due to the DRIP price, which is affecting the LP token price. That's just steadily kind of dropping, and we'd like to see it come back up. And we hope that the DRIP price will, so that the LP token value will as well. However, as I've mentioned previously, I do think that the rate at which you compound does matter, but there is two ways to look at that. One way to look at it is to say that the rate that you compound does matter because if you're trying to reach a certain goal, you're trying to compound quicker to get to where you want to be as far as plant number and daily reward in LP or dollar value. Every plant that you leave sitting, so right now I have 12 plants pending, right? Every one of those 12 plants could have already been planted when they were ready. Now each plant makes 86.4 thousand seeds every day. Seeds are the sellable asset. They represent the amount of LP token we could get in a day, or how many plants we could plant, because we're compounding seeds for more plants. So every one of these plants that could be planted has now been missing out. We've been missing out on that number of seeds. So it's a no-brainer. It's obvious that the more often you compound, the quicker you're going to compound to a higher number of plants, and the quicker you're going to get where you want to be. And this is exponentially true for the larger number of plants. If you have a large bag, and you could be, every 20 minutes or something. Now, granted, you're going to be wasting a lot of gas, and I say wasting because it'll feel like that. You'd be using a lot of gas fees, transaction fees, that you'd be using those every single time that you compound. Now, you'd have to do some of the math yourself as to if that is worth it, and you might say that right now, at the rate of decay, with this BUSD price, DRIP BUSD price, LP token dropping, you might say, no, that's not worth it right now. And, so that's that. The other way to look at it is we know that, so that's one factor. It's a no-brainer. Yes, you're going to compound quicker and get to your goal of plants quicker the more often you plant. So that's not really up for discussion or debate. That just makes sense. It's math. You're missing out on seeds when you don't plant. So, but the other point to be made for how often we compound is we know that, as the developers said, Forex Shark, this whole game of the drip garden is based on your rewards, that up to 3.3% or whatever you get a day. That reward amount changes for you based on various factors. And that one of the main factors there is you're competing with other people. Are you compounding at a higher ratio to those who are the average users of the system? So whatever the average user is doing, when you average that out, are they compounding more? Are they harvesting more? You want to be on par with them or better in order to get the maximum amount of rewards. So right now, with the price dropping, especially, almost everyone's just nonstop compounding. You're going to be essentially penalized by the system. You're going to get less rewards if you're not meeting what the average user is. If you're harvesting too often, not only that, you'll fall behind on harvesting because of the decay. You get attacked both ways there. So now the question is, and the question that I'm trying to answer with this quick experiment, even though it'd be much better if contract balance is doing okay. It's kind of slowly declining, but with this dropping, is this in dollars, by the way? I was just thinking about that. I didn't know what this was measured in, because if it is, that would make sense that it would look worse. No, that's an LP. Okay, that's good. It'd be better if this was stable, and if this was stable to really perform this experiment properly. But the question I have, and that other people have had, is when we're looking at this daily return in LP, and we're talking about being penalized, is it a ratio of compound to harvest? So, for instance, 80% of the time I'm compounding, as far as plants go, am I compounding 80% of my plants and harvesting 20? on a week basis, on a month basis, on a daily basis, or is it based on every time I can compound, I do? Because in that case, the higher end bag holders of 1,000, 2,000 plants, that wouldn't really be feasible for them, and they would be being punished for that. So I don't think that's the case. That hey, my neighbor compounds every single plant, I have to compound every single plant. I think it's more likely just the ratio, but I think the way we can kind of demonstrate that here is I've been compounding every 2 to 5 plants is what I've been doing. So I don't know, anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 times a day whenever I get to it. I'm going to let it stack up. I'm already at about 12 plants. That's because I make 13 a day, and our last harvest was almost 24 hours ago. This is a good example of a lot of people think you're getting referrals and that's what's helping you along the whole way. This is a good example of a day I'm obviously not. I grow about 13 plants a day. I'm at just about 24 hours. My next plant is almost ready in an hour and two. Did I hit 13 plants? Yeah, I hit 13 plants. So there's really not any extra being factored in here. I make, what is this? Yeah, 13.0, and my last harvest was 24 hours ago. So it makes sense that I'm at 13 plants now. So that's a whole day's worth I've let stack up. I'm going to go ahead and compound this, and then I'm going to wait another 24 hours at least. I might let it go a little longer before I compound again. And so this is kind of the experiment we're seeing is, does that make a difference on my rewards? Am I still staying about in the same pattern that I was in? Or am I, by compounding less number of times, am I being penalized on the decay even further? Is my LP going down even further? And now, remember, I'm not talking about how many plants you have. As I've already said, you will gain plants faster if you compound every single plant. That's just how math works in the compounding sphere here. This is the whole name of the game is compound interest, and you get more plants quicker the more often you compound. But we're talking about, are we keeping up with our LP? Is it staying about the same pattern it has been, depending on when I compound? And yes, we know it's going to go down because this is just seems to be dead weight dropping. While I'm talking about this, where is DRIP at right now? And this isn't me being negative about DRIP here. Almost kind of horizontal today. It's a little gentler curve until we zoom out. Yeah, I'm seeing some kind of staving off here. It's like it's wanting to try to find a floor. We're about 55. Yeah, this is a really interesting. I'm sure you've heard other people talk about that. This is interesting where this kind of support level is, because we see some of these other levels out around this period. This one's about 60. This is a pretty good one around, 55, 54. I mean, we know that it's dropped lower than that and rocketed back up. If you look at the total, I thought it was around 20. Oh, this is year to date. Yeah, so there was times it was $9. It was higher, and people who wrote it out are sitting pretty now. It dropped as low as 6 something, and then came back up. And then you could have thought this was the all-time high, and you could have sold there. And then you could have thought 70 was the all-time high, but you could have ridden it up to 130 and been compounding that whole time. So that's the point with some of these systems. If you have faith in the developer, if you think the whole project is good, you're bullish on it, we don't get scared off by these dips, or at least I don't. And remember, I'm not advising you what to do. I'm telling you I'm not worried here on this, and I think it's going to come back up. I hope it does, because I am invested in it. So that's my positive thinking for the day. I'm just going to hold and keep compounding. But yeah, so we're going to kind of see where this comes back to. I'm at 1.140, and this chart probably won't reflect that. I think it updates every hour here. But 1.140, do I even have that previously? Double checking, that's where I'm at. Yeah, 140. So it'll be right below this line. It'll be at that gray line you can see. I don't have one. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so that's where I've jumped back up to, is this line right there. Oh, that's a nice feature. I didn't know you could do that on this chart. You can kind of expand or collapse. Yeah, so I will be right about here. This 140 is where this will pop back up to. And so you can kind of see this trend since March 5th, coming downward because the whole thing's coming down. But each of these is in between compounds. So down and then a compound. Down and then a big compound. Yeah, so that's still pretty on par. So I'm going to run this the rest of the weekend. That's kind of the experiment I'm running here. Oh, yeah, see, that's helpful. Okay. That's kind of the experiment I'm running here. I want to see, that was a big referral, by the way. But yeah, I want to see, even with that dropping, if I just wait for the long periods of compounding, like let it stack up 13, 15, 20 plants, and then hit back up, are we only being judged on the ratio of harvest to compound? Because if so, there's no, besides the quickness at which you gain plants, because you'll gain faster, like I said, besides that, maybe we're gaining anyway. Like maybe we are gaining because just because we're keeping the or gaining or staying the same because we're keeping the proper ratio. Maybe we don't need to compound a million times a day. And that may be what a lot of people were talking about when they said, no, it doesn't matter how many times you compound. We know that it does for the speed of compounding to a higher plant level, but it may not affect rewards at all. And that may be relieving to hear for some people who were worried about, they're going to get way behind by not compounding multiple times. Either way, I don't think we're outpacing this decay right now. We all know that, and that's because of this price dropping. So we're all aware of that. But this might be good to know. Oh, there's the jump. This might be good to know that we're staying relatively on track, even if we're not compounding as often. Although I can see some spikes here where I was compounding more often that looks like I was coming above that line more so than I am at these other points where I was letting it dip. And like I said, being able to compound quicker does help catch up or outpace the decay. So that's why there's these different strategies here. We kind of have to play around with and see what works best for you with your bag size, with however many plants you have. I still think that compounding more often is better, but you do lose gas. So you got to weigh those two options out. I'm going to continue this experiment the rest of the weekend. I'll probably let it drop even further than 13 plants, and I'll check back in on Monday or Tuesday to see how that affected my garden growth, despite the current rate of decay. So once again, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you have a great one. I appreciate the likes and subscribes as always. I'll see you on the next video.